the spin right here, I think, just to the south of Highway 92 and southwest of Pleasantville. So this would be on track to reach Pleasantville here shortly. Go ahead and put a storm track on it again. It's very slow. It's only about 15 miles per hour. We're looking at about 10 minutes to Pleasantville, 134. Make sure you seek shelter now. Get into the lowest level of your home. Again, this is looking a little bit more organized. Again, a bit more like it did when we first came on the air. Again, it's been up and down a little bit in how well it has kind of held on here throughout the radar scans, but for the most part, it's kept at least broad rotation the entire time here as it's moved across Warren County, and now just beginning to cross that line into Marion County, south of Highway 5 here. We're getting closer to where it'll be crossing Highway 92, or probably is crossing Highway 92 as we speak, just into Marion County, and then we'll be into Pleasantville here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Wider view here across the state. Again, things are quiet right now, but as those temperatures get closer to the 80-degree mark, that's when we'll start to see more and more thunderstorms really begin to bubble up along that northwest to southeast line. You can kind of see where it is right now from Cherokee, Carroll, then through the Des Moines Metro along that warm front. That will likely light up here as we head throughout the rest of this afternoon. In fact, you can already see kind of a new thunderstorm maybe trying to pop up here around Melcher, Dallas. That's kind of the way these storms will go here as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon. This tornado warning has been in place here for about 25 minutes as it's moved out of the Indianola area and is now starting to cross the Highway 92 corridor and into Marion County. Pleasantville in the main town here that's impacted. It's been south of Sandyville out into these rural areas of Warren and Marion County, sticking with it here as we go through 145 with our tornado warning in place. There's also a larger severe thunderstorm warning for the other parts of this storm, for hail up to the size of 1 inch and wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. The hail signatures on radar have disappeared here a little bit. Again, I don't expect the hail to last too long with these thunderstorms today. I think the main threat for hail is going to come when these storms first form. I think that's when they're going to be at their strongest. There's not a lot of what we call wind shear out there today in terms of being able to kind of tilt and organize these storms long term, but there is a lot of spin out there. So the tornadoes that could form, but I think the longer these storms go, the more they're going to kind of rain themselves out a little bit. That's kind of what's happened with this storm over the Des Moines Metro, and may eventually happen here with this storm that is approaching Pleasantville, or may already be for the hail parts of it, but still quite a bit of rotation there. Again, you can pick that out, how the red and green are kind of circling and wrapping around each other here at the moment. So it is something we'll watch carefully here for another 20 minutes with that warning in place.
And that also that the report that we have right now from one of the storm chasers that's frequently in this area, Hunter Fowkes, has actually reported a multi-vortex tornado that was reoccurring. So not sure if it was on the ground. This is reports coming from the National Weather Service via Hunter, but this is, again, a storm chaser that's in that area. And so that may indicate, with that kind of disassociated view that we're having right now off of our radar and the velocity, that maybe it is kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of junking up our radar just a little bit if there are multiple vortices inside of that.
Yeah, but it does sound like here from the National Weather Service, they've now had several reports of at least possible brief touchdowns here. And again, as we said, we've got some decent rotation here wrapping up just to the south and west of Pleasantville. So if you are in Pleasantville, again, we're now starting to get multiple reports here of tornado touchdowns, multiple touchdowns to the south and southeast of Sandyville.
And this storm does also appear, and we've been putting it into motion, and the Weather Service just noting this as well in our communications with them, that the cell is almost making a bit of a right turn, which would put it right in line toward Pleasantville, if not even almost maybe on the south side of Pleasantville, compared to where it was almost looking like it would pass maybe on the northern end of town, and we're kind of seeing that rightward turn happen. So we're really looking at it traveling almost right along Highway 40 there, over really the intersection of Highway 40, 25th Place, Jersey Drive, these locations here between 30th and 40th place here, really along South Columbus Street on the south side of Pleasantville, this really broad circulation. When we see these broad circulations, then we'll likely get those more isolated or more specific touchdowns with tornadoes of this case, where we call it a multi-vortex, basically, where there's a large parent circulation ongoing, which is what we've been noting on radar. It looks rather broad. And then there are these smaller vortices within the larger circulation touching down, which also can be a little more intense at times than maybe the parent circulation there.
Yep. So this is going to be something that we're going to keep an eye on. And kind of what you're talking about here, Gabe, and we're kind of seeing that with the broad rotation, is you could get, when we say multiple touchdowns, it's not necessarily that it's one funnel going up or down. If you get a broad rotating wall cloud like that, you can kind of get little funnels that will dip down at different parts of that wall cloud and touch down. So it's not even necessarily just one particular point of interest here. That whole area that's got some rotation with it right now is something to keep in mind. So if you're in Pleasantville, you need to be in the lowest level of your home, away from windows. Get into the middle of the house. Middle and low is where you need to be here as this works its way close to the town of Pleasantville right now. Kind of right over Highway 5 and Highway 92. Getting close to that junction right now at Highway 92, I would say, is kind of the area where it may have crossed and is beginning to get onto that north-south portion of Highway 5 here, just to the south of Pleasantville, or southwest here as it's worked its way. It started north, or just to the south of Sandyville in Warren County. It's now moved its way to the northeast. You see now it is a confirmed tornado here, highlighted in pink with those latest reports. And that will continue until 1:45 here just to the southeast of the Des Moines Metro. Taking another look at those wind speeds here, again, just crossing Highway 92 in that space between Highway 92 and Highway 5, right before they kind of join together here south of Pleasantville. So the rotation is probably moving right over Pleasantville kind of as we speak here. The green is headed back toward Des Moines. The red is headed down and to the right, away from the Des Moines Metro. So in between there, that's where we've got the kind of center of this circulation, where we expect those tornadoes and funnels to be dipping down and hitting the ground. And here's the latest scan, and it does look a little bit tighter. Again, very close here to Pleasantville. Zoom in, get some more roads again. Highway 92 and Jersey Drive, Highway G40 in that area, just on the very southwest tip of Pleasantville at the moment, where we'd be expecting that tornado or tornadoes to be impacted right now. You can see we've kind of maxed out some of the values here. The velocities back toward the Des Moines Metro and away from it here, right over Pleasantville as we speak. So we'll go ahead and get a closer look at those as they come in here on the latest information from the radar. The green is headed back toward Des Moines, the red going away. And again, that doesn't indicate some at least very gusty winds over Pleasantville right now. Some gusty winds the other direction, just to the southwest. So that whole area of rotation, it's called the mesocyclone, or maybe even the wall cloud here showing up on radar, moving very close, and right in the middle of that is really where we would expect those tornadoes, those funnels, to be dipping down here at the moment. So Pleasantville, this is your time to be practicing that severe weather safety here at the moment, inside and away from windows into that lowest level of your home. That tornado is 9 miles northwest of Knoxville, very near Pleasantville here at the moment, moving to the northeast at 15 miles per hour. We'll give you a look at where Knoxville is. Again, this is Pleasantville, getting into the Lake Red Rock area here in the next 20 minutes or so. But Pleasantville right now is the area where we are of greatest concern here, moving overhead as we speak here. The latest scan putting some of that radar right over Pleasantville and Highway G40. Highway 5, there's the new velocity scan coming in, getting very close there. So again, make sure you are heeding the warning here that will continue for another 15 minutes in Marion County. We widen out the view. Again, the storm over the Des Moines Metro weakening. No other severe thunderstorms here at the moment, but we are watching new thunderstorms that are developing south of this warning between Melcher, Dallas, and Knoxville here at the moment. Those thunderstorms, again, as they first kind of blossom here, we'll initially have some hail threat. There's enough spin out there to keep the tornado level risk here up with any of these storms that develop here throughout the afternoon. So it's something we'll be keeping an eye on here all night through at least 7 p.m. with that tornado watch.
And we have our crews that are coming in right now. Also, we'll be on Iowa's Weather Channel, 13.4 and 115 on MediaCom. We'll keep you updated on our Weather Channel, which is back on the air. It's good to have that. But really want to emphasize that people in that Pleasantville area need to seek shelter now in the basement between you and as many walls and the outside as possible. Make sure you're totally covered. And as we mentioned earlier, even bicycle helmets can help when there's flying debris to keep you safe. Just make sure that you're checking on maybe those that aren't watching us as well. If you maybe know somebody that's there, give them a call, let them know that these tornado warnings are going on. That 13 Warn Me app should be on as well.
These storms slow moving. Again, like we said, not a lot of wind here to kind of push things around. If you've been outside, that's been kind of one of the complaints today. It's warm and muggy, not much a breeze out there. Just kind of that hot and sticky feeling, and that's what's going to I think, contribute here to the very slow-moving nature of these thunderstorms today. Again, this tornado only about 15 miles per hour. As you look at this is an hour's worth of movement, and it's still not gone from Indianola to Pleasantville here at the moment, that south part of the thunderstorm. So it's really moved slowly, and I think has gotten slower as it got close to Sandyville and now into the Pleasantville area.
It's just creeping along.
Yeah. Right now, the latest scans here from the radar, again, putting that rotation right at Highway 5, Highway 368 here, just on the south side of Pleasantville. Those areas are where we're probably looking at the best chance for maybe a tornado on the ground right now. But you see how that area of rotation is broad, and we've been talking about multiple brief touchdowns here. So anywhere kind of along this line, the Highway 5 basically itself right now snaking right through where those winds are changing direction. So that would be where we would expect a tornado here at this moment.
And if there's maybe any good news with this, it's that, I mean, this tornado has been reported on the ground now for, I mean, we're going on probably at least 10 minutes now. And we still, on radar, don't have any debris being detected. So if this tornado is still on the ground, it likely is not super strong. Well, I mean, going back there, maybe a little bit of debris there, but it's not, nonetheless, it's not a strong signature anyway. So.
Yeah, we get into maybe just a little bit there south of Pleasantville, but what's happening with a lot of that is we get outside of the storm there, so
right.
Not a lot for it to look at. So not convinced at this moment that there's anything too concerning that has happened here between Pleasantville and Sandyville at the moment. No reports of damage yet, so that's good news. And again, this is a broader area of circulation here over Pleasantville right now, so we don't want to let our guards down, but again, it's starting to get a little more spread out again. We've seen this from time to time. When it was south of Sandyville, we had a fairly tight area of rotation, kind of spread out a little bit as it worked east of Sandyville, then tightened back up again as it's gone into Marion County, and now over Pleasantville right now, kind of in the heart of it here, where we've got some spin, but not necessarily anything tight, where we've got the red and green right kind of butted up against each other. That's giving us what would be a pretty wide area of rotation. We want to get those closer together. Right now we're looking at, a couple miles across here, so that's more talking about just the parent thunderstorm itself rotating, or maybe a large wall cloud and not a tornado that's obviously going to be less than a mile usually.
Yeah, when you look at that reflectivity signature, which is what you're seeing now, it's how normal radar looks like. We call that reflectivity here. I'm not seeing that really tight hook echo there like we were seeing a little bit ago. So maybe that classic signature shape for a tornadic storm. You're almost seeing more of a rounded shape, almost a bowing shape. And so sometimes that can indicate either one, that the storm is maybe recycling or getting its act back together, reforming, or it can indicate weakening. So that happens basically when the air kind of rushes out ahead of the storm, the cold air rushes out ahead of it and almost cuts off that rising air that feeds the storm. So this could be a good sign that the storm may be weakening a little bit, but of course, again, this tornado warning is still in effect. We still are getting reports, at least, of a possible tornado here. So you'll want to still stay in that safe spot. We will let you know when you're in the clear. For instance, if you are back in Warren County, you're in the clear now. The cell has pushed off into Marion County. So if you were in Marion County, though, especially in Pleasantville, we really want you to get in that safe spot and stay there now until this cell has really cleared the area.
Yeah, and when we take the radar and kind of look up throughout the thunderstorm, again, this is the rotation down at the lowest level here that we usually look at to find the tornado. When we start to look up higher, there's still some rotation up, but it starts to get a little bit messier. It's not necessarily looking quite as organized even up higher off of the ground here at the moment as what it may have earlier. So, like you said, some encouraging signs there. Again, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for the broader part of this storm as well, but that part of the storm has gotten weaker here over the last 20 or 30 minutes as well. So that may be what's happening. Again, you see maybe some new growth as well, I think, where we're maybe starting to get some competing updrafts around this thunderstorm that might begin to kind of choke out the main area that was feeding this thunderstorm. Again, we've got that secondary storm now to the south on Highway 5 that's going to start to push more rain-cooled air into this thunderstorm. So we may be kind of in the waning stages of at least this warning at the moment, or at least this round here of strengthening that area of rotation. Again, right over Pleasantville, but you see there's a big area there where that green goes very, very light. It's almost like there's very, very little movement even at all within the thunderstorm. So it's not quite as rocking around as it was a little bit earlier. I would say, if anything, now we're kind of looking south or southeast of Pleasantville as we zoom in on that area here. 50th Place, Highway 368th Street. Those would be the areas, I think, at this moment that would be under the greatest risk. Still want to stay in your shelter here in Pleasantville. We've got another 5 minutes on this warning.
And this cell really remains pretty much the only game in
Yeah.
town right now as well. I mean, zooming out, that cell that's moved through the metro, pretty much falling apart now. We're really seeing those colors go down, which indicate, of course, the intensity of rain, but also of the thunderstorm. A few cells kind of developing up north of Carroll. Those haven't really gotten their act together, though, either. So at least for now, some encouraging signs that this is pretty much the only cell we're looking at least for now. But again, as we have been telling you, that window we're watching for storm development is not closed yet. That will likely go until mid-afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock. We're still expecting storms to begin popping up. And really, they're moving now into a more favorable environment location. Those northeastern areas of the metro, those are the spots we've been highlighting for the potential for those stronger storms. But again, at least these have shown that they haven't been able to sustain themselves for a long period of time. I mean, this warning was issued not even quite an hour ago, and a lot of these cells have weakened a decent amount now.
Yeah, and these temperatures are starting to climb into the mid and upper 70s as they get closer to that 80-degree mark. That has kind of seemed like it's been the magic number for what's been needed to pop the thunderstorms today and get them going. So you give another hour here of sunshine in a lot of spots, and we may see that line start to fill in a bit more. Of course, these thunderstorms, as they move on through, do cool things down a little bit, so we'll watch that, and you can kind of see the blue line here that's worked its way out from these thunderstorms, stretching from around Guthrie Center through Winterset and then curling back into the southern edge of this tornado warning, those outflow boundaries. They are a little mini cold front, so on one side it might be a little bit cooler, the other side warmer. They give us those wind shifts, so those can become interesting later on if we see thunderstorms that are able to ride along those to get more spin or more potential here to produce those tornadoes as we go throughout the afternoon and evening. But again, the cloud cover, the rain-cooled air here will take some of the focus off of one area, start to put them on another here as we go throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, and I mean, that cell, the rotation really does appear to be weakening. I mean, maybe we're seeing that pulsing up of those green colors a little bit. They're a little brighter now. But that may just indicate that this storm is transitioning into more of a wind threat than a rotating thunderstorm here. And are those colors almost out ahead of the rain, too?
Yeah,
A little bit, so
it's starting to get
maybe,
some inflow there into the storm. We kind of got that push out on the red on the outbound side here. It's kind of like maybe we've got a little bit of storm collapse there on the backside that pushed out some wind gusts, and now we're pulling in some stronger wind gusts out on the front side. But again, it's not not balanced and not necessarily tightening up in a way that we would expect to continue with a major tornado threat here.
Yeah, so we like what we're seeing here. The storm overall appears to be kind of weakening as it lifts off to the north and east here. Eventually, that'll be really kind of passing over Lake Red Rock, and actually we have a brand new tornado warning now issued. So the Weather Service is going to continue that for this cell. This is for Marion County until 2:30 this afternoon. They are now transitioning this to being a radar-indicated tornado, so maybe not necessarily finding that support that there's still a tornado that is confirmed, but they're telling us that that storm capable of producing a tornado over Pleasantville or 7 miles northwest of Knoxville, and it continues to crawl off to the northeast at 15 miles per hour. And as we kind of mentioned just a little bit ago, again, this is a somewhat favorable environment for storms still. And we'll track that out for you again, at least maybe not a ton of major communities in the path of this. But if you're north of Knoxville in Marion County, and again, part of this is going to pass over Lake Red Rock as well, into really northern areas like Otley, by 2:30, that's about the time this warning is scheduled to expire. So that's still another 45 minutes to go here on this warning. So we're going to continue to watch it and again see kind of how this storm evolves as it has shown some signs of weakening, but these storms have also shown that they're able to kind of weaken and then pulse back up as they move into an environment that can be more favorable.
Yeah. So we take a look again here at the latest scans here on radar. Again, the best signature right now is that kind of flare up of green that's back in toward the Des Moines metro. We're looking at maybe a little bit here just to the east of Pleasantville at the moment where we've got some red headed out. So we still have some strong winds here showing up on the radar. This would be to the east of Pleasantville now here at the moment. The new tornado warning does not include Pleasantville itself. So at this point, this is essentially the all clear in Pleasantville, as the initial warning that was set to expire at 1:45 has now been replaced by a new warning. Does not include Pleasantville. So the town of Pleasantville itself now in the all clear. And again, we're looking at a mainly rural area here of Marion County, north of Knoxville. It's all Marion County here at this point. No additional counties impacted. Until 2:30, we have this tornado warning in place. So if you know folks that live north of Knoxville, between Pleasantville and Pella, those are the areas that we're going to be talking about the potential here for spin-up tornadoes. Highway 14 north out of the Knoxville area eventually here. Right now, Highway G40 is kind of where this area of rotation will be riding along, but no issues here at the moment in terms of larger towns at the moment. This is going to be more rural areas impacted, the northern half of Marion County. Check out the latest scans here from radar. Again, we've got some strengthening here of that rotation out to the east of Pleasantville. Again, maybe some wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour possible as well. But the hail threat here is kind of subsided with this thunderstorm as well as it works its way to the east at 15 miles per hour. Very slowly here this afternoon. Again, when we check out the radar and we'll kind of look back up throughout the storm, see what we can see in terms of rotation. Again, there, but you get off of the ground, you see much stronger inflow there in that green coloring. A little bit of rotation as you go back. Again, the upper scans don't get sampled as often, so that's why it kind of looks like it's moving backwards there as we go back up through the scan. But definitely still some rotation. It's re-strengthened again up off of the ground at least. So the potential here for a tornado to develop or redevelop, I guess at this point, since we've had a couple that have been on the ground, is going to continue mainly along or north of Highway G40 at this point, I would say, in Marion County, east of Pleasantville, north of Knoxville, and to the west of Pella here this afternoon.
Yeah, and still no signs, it looks like, of any debris being picked up by the radar. There is, of course, out in the clear air, some of those lower values. So if you're maybe a weather geek following along at home, this is why we kind of try to match up these different views from the radar. Where is the rain? Where is the wind? And then put all these pieces together here. So another good sign that as this cell has moved through Pleasantville, so far at least, not a lot of debris being picked up by the radar, but those winds are coming back up a little bit now. So we may be seeing this storm get its act together once again and strengthen a little bit. Another threat we're going to kind of have to watch as we see these cells kind of develop along this front as it lifts off to the north is also the potential for some flooding. Northern Iowa already earlier today saw several reports of 2+ inches of rain. In Algona, we picked up almost 3 inches in just the last 12 hours or so, or 12 to 24 hours. Fort Dodge picked up almost 3 inches of rain during the overnight and into tomorrow morning. So as we get more of these cells to develop and maybe move over the same areas, we're also going to have to watch for some of that flooding. And I mean, they're just moving so slowly that this is something we're going to have to watch for, especially when some of these areas, especially northwestern Iowa, dealing with drought. A lot of that precipitation is going to just run right off instead of soaking into the ground. So a flooding threat is also something we're going to have to watch for. But of course, our attention remains on this tornado-warned storm now exiting Pleasantville, pushing off to the north and east over Marion County. This will eventually, again, be headed off in the direction of Monroe, but not quite included in this warning. And still, there is that broad rotation, but it still appears to be overall weaker than what we were seeing, for instance, when this cell was right over Pleasantville.
Yeah, when we put this back to Pleasantville, you can see where the green starts to flare up, and you've got some balance there between the green and red. And now the flow just starts to seem a little bit weaker here on the red side, which would be blowing away from the radar and away from the Des Moines Metro. So again, we've seen how this just kind of flares up and down. The potential is there for these spin-up tornadoes to kind of continue from time to time. There's still some rotation in there just north of Highway G40, again, as we said, but it has not necessarily maintained a straight straight line that we can track here necessarily. We kind of get those connect the dots that we've had here. Brief tornado touchdowns, again, continue to come in.
Yeah, we're continuing to see these videos on social media of some storm chasers in the area. And again, they're these really small, thin funnels. Again, that doesn't mean you can let your guard down. We still want you to seek shelter. Even the appearance of a tornado can be deceiving, but overall these funnels look to be weak and brief. We're getting several of these reports in from the National Weather Service of some of these brief touchdowns with this cell. So again, as we've been kind of talking about, there's likely this really broad area of circulation ongoing with some of these maybe tighter areas of rotation briefly touching the ground, all part of the larger parent circulation.
Yeah, same thing has been happening up here in northwestern Iowa, Buena Vista County, tornado warning there. So with those cells we've been watching earlier, again, that's outside of the WHO 13 area, but they've had a couple of brief touchdowns as well. And again, this is what we kind of expect here as we go throughout the afternoon. This line, this warm front here to kind of connect. We're going to see thunderstorms kind of bubbling up or boiling up throughout the afternoon. And again, we said there's not a lot of wind out there. If you've been outside, it's not that breezy here at the moment. So there's not a lot to kind of steer these storms along. But there is a lot of spin when you go up here through the lowest level. So we're going to be able to get maybe some of these weaker spin-up tornadoes to kind of form here throughout the day. It's going to limit, I think, how large the hail potential is going to be as we go throughout the rest of this afternoon. But it is something I think we're going to have to deal with in terms of these weaker tornadoes throughout the next few hours. That tornado watch goes until 7 p.m. We're live here on WHO 13 this afternoon with our tornado warning that's in place for Marion County. We're also back on Iowa's Weather Channel. It's back on the air, and we're going to utilize that as well as we go throughout the afternoon here if we get into some more thunderstorms later on and severe weather. You can pick that up, of course, over the air. It's 13.4 now. We've moved it up the dial just a bit, but 13.4. If you've got your antenna, you can scan, pick that up, and follow along with some of the coverage there. It's on Mediacom channel 115. So those are the two areas that you can get it on your television. 13.4 with your antenna or 115 with your MediaCom box. We're also online, WHO13.com, and in your 13 Warn Me app. Got the live stream going right now. If you open up your 13 Warn Me app, it is a little bit hidden. You go down toward the bottom, you've got the home, daily, whatever. You got to click on more, and then live plus roads. When you go onto that tab, the 13 Warn Me live video should be there. It's also where the road conditions are hidden in the winter, but the live plus roads tab will get you to that live stream. And if we're on the air there, you'll get the live feed on your phone. You can take it with you on the go. You take it into your tornado shelter. If you don't have the TV close by, you can watch it on your phone there and keep up with the live coverage. And of course, that's got the 13.4 stream on there all the time. So you want to get a quick live or a quick updated forecast, look at the sky cameras, the live radar, that's going there 24/7. So it's a good way to stay updated. A lot of folks are going to be outside today. We've heard from some folks that were down in Indianola from WHO 13 for some baseball this afternoon. So a lot of folks are going to be outside. Want to know what happens here when these rumbles of thunder start to get a little bit closer.
Yeah, some good reminders. You can take us with you to your safe spot if you're worried about maybe leaving your TV, or if you don't want to just turn up the volume, you can take us with you. Something I'm noticing, we were just talking about how as this cell was approaching Pleasantville, it was kind of curving to the right or to the east a little bit. Now we're almost seeing that same circulation rotate up counterclockwise and move north a little bit. And as I was just kind of putting the area of rotation into motion too, that circulation is almost kind of spinning back northwest now. So again, almost on the northern edge of this tornado warning, where this area of circulation is moving towards. It still looks fairly broad overall, but again, it's almost going to be riding along this northern edge of the warning as it really is approaching now, really the very edge of Lake Red Rock there. So just something to keep in mind here. Again, no matter where you are in these polygons, these warnings, you want to take shelter here because, of course, these storms can change direction pretty quickly.
Yeah, Fulton Street, 75th Avenue, 85th Place, that's kind of the area that we have this rotation here at the moment. We'll go ahead and kind of clear this off, show you where we are with respect to Lake Red Rock, and that is going to be, again, right there. As we take the radar off, you can see we are right on the northwest edge here of Lake Red Rock, about to move out, up and over the water here with this tornado warning that's in place until 2:30. It's 1:54 right now. Marion County, the only county included here, and it is rural areas of north central Marion County here at the moment, between Pleasantville and Pella here. No major towns impacted here at the moment, so this is going to be rural areas for folks that live out in this area, something to keep in mind as we go here through the next half an hour or so. And this has been confirmed multiple times earlier here throughout its life cycle of several tornado touchdowns. No reports of damage here at the moment, but the area of rotation kind of continues to cycle. And again, the good news is right now it does look a bit weaker. We've said that a few times here, but if we kind of continue to see what we're seeing here, and we get maybe a little bit more of these storms kind of getting in the way of each other, we might see this start to drop a little bit here over the next few minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, the Weather Service is noting a lot of these cells are showing at least some rotation today. And that's kind of common when you get these cells to kind of form up along these warm fronts here. And in the case of the cell that moved over the Des Moines Metro, in that case, the rotation essentially tore the storm apart. So that one actually had a wall cloud, which can be a precursor to a tornado. It's a rotating part of the thunderstorm. But in this case, it wasn't able to really get its act together. It kind of fizzled out, fell apart as it moved off to the north and east. So it's, again, an afternoon where you're going to want to have a way to get those warnings. Some of these cells will be able to maintain their strength and get its act together, such as the one moving over Marion County right now. Others are going to fizzle. And so they were just talking about that cell up by Storm Lake, where there's that tornado warning, again, out of the viewing area, but in northwest Iowa. That cell is showing some rotation, but again, difficult to always say if it's necessarily showing a tornado potential. So this is also an afternoon. You may very well see what we call these cold air funnels, which are funnel clouds that are actually not part of a rotating thunderstorm. It's just some some surface interactions going on close to the ground. And that's why we're here this afternoon to kind of tell you the difference, which ones of these you should worry about and which ones you shouldn't. And still, Brett, to me, this rotation looks fairly weak as the cell lifts north and east over northwestern Marion County.
Yeah, I do think it's starting to look a little bit more benign here as it works its way to the east and northeast and starts to move over Lake Red Rock itself. So what we're going to do right now as this storm, again, it begins to move over the water here, we're going to take a quick break and kind of reset some things here, gather some more information. This is, again, in rural Marion County. We've been with you here for the last half an hour to 40 minutes. We're going to take a quick break here, get in touch with a few more folks on this storm as it kind of crosses the open water there of Lake Red Rock, and we'll let you know. We'll be back if that rotation strengthens again. As it is, we'll keep the information at the bottom of your screen. We'll be back with more severe thunderstorm and tornado coverage on WHO 13 throughout the afternoon.